The humid Atlanta morning air hits Joshua Mitchell's face as he crouches beside a stranded car. On the shoulder of Interstate 85, his dress shirt already clinging to his back with sweat. Traffic roars past at 70 miles per hour, and in exactly 43 minutes. He's supposed to be sitting across from the hiring managers at Coleman Industries for the interview. That could change everything. But what happened next shocked everyone. Because this elderly stranger struggling with his flat tire wasn't just anyone. He was about to turn Joshua's entire world upside down. Let's rewind 6 hours earlier to understand how Joshua ended up in this impossible situation. The alarm clock screams at 6 a.m. in Joshua's cramped one-bedroom apartment in East Atlanta. He rolls out of his second-hand mattress, feet hitting the cold hardwood floor, and immediately reaches for his phone. 3 missed calls from debt collectors and a text from Georgia State University reminding him that his final tuition payment is overdue. Again, today's the day, Jay, he whispers to himself, practicing his interview answers in the bathroom mirror while shaving with a razor. That's seen better days. You got this. In the tiny kitchen that barely fits 2 people, Joshua finds his sister Maya already seated at their wobbly card table, nursing a cup of coffee and scrolling through job listings on her laptop. You ready for this? Maya asks, looking up with those encouraging eyes that have kept Joshua going through 2 years of rejection, letters and dead-end interviews. Ready as I'll ever be. Coleman Industries doesn't mess around. They only hire 5 entry-level analysts each year, and there were over 300 applicants. Joshua pours himself coffee from their ancient Mr. Coffee machine, the one appliance that refuses to die. This could be it, Maya. Real salary, health insurance, enough to finally help Mom with her medical bills. Maya reaches across and squeezes his hand. You deserve this, Joshua. After everything you've been through, everything you've sacrificed to get your degree while working 2 jobs, this is your moment. Joshua checks his watch, 7:45 a.m. The interview is at 10:30 a.m. downtown, and he's planned his route down to the minute. 30 minutes to get dressed, 15 minutes to walk to the MARTA station, 45 minutes on the train, and a 10-minute buffer for any delays. He's rehearsed this journey 3 times this week. I should get going, he says, straightening his tie, the same navy blue tie he's worn to every important occasion since high school graduation. Wish me luck. Little did Joshua know that in less than 3 hours, he'd be faced with a choice that would test everything he believed about right and wrong. At 8:30 a.m. sharp, Joshua steps out of his apartment building onto Ponce de Leon Avenue. The morning sun is already brutal, promising another scorching Georgia day. His phone buzzes with a voicemail from Maya. Hey Jay, I know you're probably on the train by now, but I just wanted to remind you how proud I am of you. Win or lose today, you're already a success in my eyes. Go show them what the Mitchell family is made of. The message gives him a boost of confidence as he descends into the 5 Points MARTA station. The train is running on time, and Joshua finds a seat where he can review his portfolio one last time. Financial projections, case studies, recommendation letters from professors who saw something special in the kid, who always sat in the front row despite working the night shift at FedEx. But the real shock was still coming. At 9:47 a.m., just as the train pulls into the Peachtree Center station, Joshua's phone rings. Unknown number. Probably another debt collector, but something makes him answer. Joshua Mitchell? Yes, this is Joshua. This is Jennifer from Coleman Industries. I'm calling about your interview this morning. Joshua's heart nearly stops. Are they canceling? Did they already choose someone else? We're going to need to push your interview back by about 30 minutes. Mr. Coleman himself wants to sit in on the final interviews today, and he's running behind schedule. Can you be here by 11 a.m. instead of 10:30? Relief floods through Joshua's body. Absolutely. Thank you so much for letting me know. Perfect. We'll see you at 11 a.m. sharp. Good luck, Joshua. As Joshua emerges from the underground station onto Peachtree Street, the extra 30 minutes feels like a gift from the universe. He decides to walk the 12 blocks to Coleman Industries instead of taking a taxi, using the time to center himself and mentally prepare. That's when he sees him. At the corner of Peachtree and 14th Street, an elderly black man in a worn but clean button-down shirt stands beside a silver Honda Accord. With its hazard lights flashing, the car is pulled halfway onto the sidewalk, creating a dangerous situation as downtown traffic speeds past just feet away. The man is probably in his 70s, with gray hair and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses, and he's clearly struggling with something. Joshua checks his watch, 10:15 a.m. He has 45 minutes to spare, plenty of time to still make his interview if he keeps walking. But as Joshua gets closer, he can see what's happening. The rear tire is completely flat, and the elderly man is trying to figure out where to place the jack. His hands are shaking slightly, whether from age, heat, or stress, Joshua can't tell. This decision would change everything. Joshua stops walking. Cars are honking as they swerve around the partially blocked Honda, and the old man looks overwhelmed and possibly unsafe. Every instinct Joshua has developed over 24 years of life, every lesson about helping your elders and doing right by your community, is screaming at him to stop and help. But today is different. Today is the day that could change his family's entire financial situation. Joshua checks his watch again, 10:16 a.m. The internal debate rages for exactly 30 more seconds before he makes his choice. The Georgia sun beats down mercilessly as Joshua wipes sweat from his forehead, wrestling with the stubborn lug nuts on Mr. Wilson's tire. His dress shirt, carefully pressed that morning for the interview, now clings to his back with perspiration. The elderly man stands nearby, surprisingly steady despite his earlier struggle, watching Joshua work with a knowing smile. "You know, young man," Mr. Wilson says, his voice carrying a weight that seems disproportionate to their roadside situation. "I've been in business for over 40 years, and I can tell more about a person from watching them change a tire than from any resume or interview." Joshua pauses, looking up from the tire iron. "What do you mean by that, sir?" Character reveals itself in unexpected moments, Mr. Wilson replies cryptically. "When the stakes are low and no one's watching, that's when you see who someone really is." Something about the way Mr. Wilson speaks strikes Joshua as unusual. The man's clothes might be modest and his car older, but there's an authority in his voice, a confidence that suggests he's accustomed to being heard. Joshua files the observation away as he continues working. "Tell me about yourself, Mr. Wilson continues, settling against the car's hood. "What were you rushing to today that was so important?" Joshua's hands freeze on the tire iron. The question hits like a physical blow, reminding him of what he's sacrificing at this very moment. "A job interview," he admits quietly. "My dream job, actually. I've been working toward this opportunity for years." Mr. Wilson nods thoughtfully. "And yet here you are." "And yet here I am," Joshua echoes, a bitter laugh escaping him. The old man studies him carefully. "You sound like you're second-guessing your decision." "Honestly, I don't know anymore." Joshua's voice cracks slightly. "My family's counting on me. My mom's medical bills, my sister's tuition, the rent. This job could have changed everything for us, and I threw it all away for." He gestures helplessly at the tire. But before Mr. Wilson can respond, Joshua's phone buzzes. The screen shows the company logo he knows by heart, the same logo he'd researched obsessively, the same logo that was supposed to represent his future. His heart hammers as he stares at the incoming call. "Aren't you going to answer that, Mr. Wilson asks gently. Joshua looks at the elderly man, then at his oil-stained hands, then back at the phone. By the time he fumbles to clean his hands and swipe to answer, the call has gone to voicemail. The silence that follows feels deafening, broken only by the distant hum of traffic and the old man's patient breathing. "I guess that was them," Joshua whispers, staring at his phone like it might suddenly ring again. Mr. Wilson places a weathered hand on Joshua's shoulder. "Sometimes the path we think we need isn't the path that needs us." There's something almost prophetic in the way he says it, but Joshua is too consumed by disappointment to fully process the words. He finishes tightening the last lug nut with more force than necessary, channeling his frustration into the task. "There," he says, standing and brushing dirt from his knees. "You're all set, Mr. Wilson." The old man examines the changed tire with approval. "Excellent work. Now, I insist on properly thanking you for your kindness. That's really not necessary, Joshua protests, already calculating how quickly he might still make it to the office, though he knows it's futile. Oh, but it is, Mr. Wilson's tone becomes firm, almost businesslike. I have a strict policy about repaying debts, young man. Please, allow me to buy you lunch at least. There's a place not far from here where I'd like to take you. Joshua hesitates, torn between politeness and the crushing weight of his missed opportunity. There's something compelling about Mr. Wilson, something that makes him want to trust the old man despite barely knowing him. I suppose I don't have anywhere else to be now, Joshua says, trying to mask his disappointment with a weak smile. Mr. Wilson's eyes twinkle with what might be amusement. Excellent. Follow me in your car. It's only a 10-minute drive. As they walk to their respective vehicles, Joshua can't shake the feeling that he's standing at a crossroads he doesn't fully understand. Mr. Wilson moves with purpose now, his earlier frailty seeming to evaporate as he climbs confidently into his driver's seat. Joshua starts his car and follows the older man's vehicle, watching as they navigate through increasingly upscale neighborhoods. The modest restaurants and strip malls give way to gleaming office buildings and manicured corporate campuses. His confusion deepens when Mr. Wilson signals to turn into the parking structure of a towering glass building that Joshua recognizes from the downtown business district. Where exactly are we going? Joshua mutters to himself as they park. Mr. Wilson approaches Joshua's car with that same mysterious smile, gesturing toward the building's impressive entrance. Somewhere I think you'll find quite interesting, Joshua. Trust me on this one. Joshua's phone buzzes urgently as he wipes sweat from his forehead, the afternoon sun beating down mercilessly on the Atlanta asphalt. Mr. Wilson notices the concern that immediately washes over Joshua's face as he answers. What's wrong? Joshua's voice carries a tremor of fear that makes Mr. Wilson pause from gathering his tools. It's Mom, Josh. She collapsed again this morning. The doctors are saying we need to move up the surgery timeline. They're talking about next week instead of next month. Maya's voice cracks through the phone speaker. Joshua feels his knees nearly buckle. The medical bills have already stretched their family beyond breaking point, and now this. He closes his eyes, fighting back the wave of regret that threatens to drown him. If he hadn't stopped to help, if he had just driven past like everyone else, he'd be sitting in that interview right now, possibly securing the one opportunity that could save his family. Josh, you still there? Maya asks softly. Yeah, I'm here. We'll figure it out, okay? We always do. The words taste hollow in his mouth. As Joshua hangs up, Mr. Wilson places a gentle hand on his shoulder. Son, that sounded like heavy news. It's my mother. Joshua confession spills out before he can stop himself. She's been battling kidney disease for 2 years now. Today was supposed to be the day everything changed for us. His voice breaks slightly as he gestures toward the city skyline. That interview I missed. It was for a position that could have covered her medical expenses, helped us get out of the hole we've been drowning in. But wait until you hear what happens next, because Mr. Wilson's response will change everything about this story. They climb into Mr. Wilson's now functioning sedan, and Joshua is surprised when they pull up to a modest gray building in downtown Atlanta. Nothing about it screams success or importance, yet as they approach the entrance, something remarkable happens. The security guard straightens up immediately upon seeing Mr. Wilson. Good afternoon, sir. Welcome back, the guard says with genuine warmth and respect. Inside, the reception area buzzes with activity, but Joshua notices how every employee they pass stops what they're doing to greet Mr. Wilson with obvious affection and reverence. A young woman behind the reception desk practically beams as she waves. These people really seem to know you, Joshua observes, confusion evident in his voice. Mr. Wilson chuckles softly. I spend a lot of time here. Come on, let's sit down. They settle into comfortable chairs in what appears to be a small conference room, and Joshua finds himself opening up in ways he never expected. The weight of his family's situation, the pressure of being the one everyone looks to for solutions, the crushing disappointment of missing his one shot at financial stability. It all comes pouring out. I keep thinking about my father, Joshua admits, staring at his hands. He died when I was 16, and his last words to me were about taking care of Mom and Maya. I've been failing them for years, and today I failed them again by choosing to help a stranger instead of securing our future. But you won't believe what Mr. Wilson tells him next. Mr. Wilson leans back in his chair, his eyes distant with memory. You know, Joshua, 40 years ago I was in shoes very similar to yours. Young, desperate, carrying the weight of family expectations on my shoulders. I remember standing at crossroads where I had to choose between immediate gain and doing what felt right in my heart. What did you choose? Joshua asks. There was a time when I had to decide between taking a shortcut that would have compromised my values or staying true to who I was, even if it meant a harder path. I chose the harder path, and you know what? Every single door that truly mattered opened because of that choice, not in spite of it. Joshua feels a flicker of hope beginning to kindle in his chest. Maybe his decision wasn't the catastrophic mistake he thought it was. Maybe there's still a way forward. The values that drove you to stop and help me today, Mr. Wilson continues. Those same values are going to serve you in ways you can't even imagine right now. Trust me on this. For the first time since missing his interview, Joshua allows himself to believe that maybe, just maybe, everything isn't lost. The conversation feels like a lifeline, and he's beginning to see Mr. Wilson as more than just a grateful stranger. There's wisdom in his words that speaks to experience, to someone who has navigated similar storms and emerged stronger. But just as Joshua starts to feel genuinely hopeful about his situation, Mr. Wilson's phone rings with an urgent, unmistakable tone that cuts through their intimate conversation. Mr. Wilson glances at the caller ID, and his entire demeanor shifts to one of serious authority. I need to take this, Mr. Wilson says, his voice suddenly carrying a weight and command that Joshua has never heard before. This is Wilson. As Mr. Wilson steps away to take the call, Joshua catches fragments of conversation that make absolutely no sense, with everything he thought he knew about this humble, kind elderly man. And what he overhears is about to turn his entire world upside down. The phone call ends abruptly, and Mr. Wilson's demeanor shifts dramatically. His warm, grandfatherly expression becomes suddenly serious, almost commanding. Joshua, I need to show you something, he says, his voice carrying an authority that catches Joshua off guard. They walk down a pristine hallway lined with floor-to-ceiling windows. Joshua notices the expensive artwork, the polished marble floors, the subtle luxury of everything around them. This isn't just any building. This is corporate headquarters-level sophistication. Mr. Wilson, Joshua starts hesitantly. What kind of company did you say this was? The older man doesn't answer immediately. Instead, he stops in front of a wall of photographs. Joshua's eyes widen as he takes in the images, ribbon cuttings, groundbreaking ceremonies, awards presentations, and in every single photo, there's Mr. Wilson, sometimes younger, sometimes in suits that cost more than Joshua's monthly rent. I founded this company 43 years ago, Mr. Wilson says quietly, watching Joshua's reaction. Started with nothing but a dream and a willingness to work harder than anyone else. Joshua's mouth goes dry. Founded? You mean you're the CEO? Yes, Mr. Wilson's eyes twinkle with something between amusement and sadness. Clarence Wilson, Wilson Industries. We specialize in infrastructure development across the Southeast. The world seems to tilt sideways. Joshua grabs the wall for support, his mind racing. Wilson Industries. He's heard that name before. They're massive. They're everywhere. Wait, he whispers. Wilson Industries was one of the companies I was supposed to interview with today. Mr. Wilson nods slowly. I know. But before Joshua can process this revelation, his phone buzzes urgently. Maya's name flashes on the screen, and something in her tone when he answers makes his blood run cold. Josh, you need to get to the hospital right now, she says, her voice thick with tears. Mama collapsed at work. They're saying she needs emergency surgery. And her voice breaks. They need payment up front. $8,000, Josh. We don't have $8,000. The hallway seems to spin around him. Joshua slides down the wall, his legs suddenly unable to support him. Everything he'd been working for, everything he'd sacrificed, it all comes crashing down in this moment. The missed interview, the uncertain future, and now his mother fighting for her life while he's standing in the headquarters of a company that might have been his salvation. "I have to go," he tells Mr. Wilson, struggling to stand. "My mother, he can't finish the sentence. Mr. Wilson places a steady hand on Joshua's shoulder. "Son, sometimes life tests us in ways we never expect. Sometimes the detour is the destination. But I don't understand any of this," Joshua says desperately. "Why didn't you tell me who you were? Why were you on the side of the road with a flat tire? Why?" "Because 43 years ago, I was exactly where you are now, Mr. Wilson interrupts, his voice filled with emotion. "Young, desperate, trying to support my sick mother while chasing a dream that seemed impossible. And one day, someone stopped to help me when I needed it most." Joshua stares at him, tears threatening to spill. "Mr. Wilson, I appreciate everything, but I have to go. My mother needs me." "Wait," the authority in Mr. Wilson's voice stops Joshua cold. "There's something else you need to know." But before he can continue, the building's fire alarm suddenly blares to life. Red lights flash, and an automated voice announces an emergency evacuation. Through the windows, Joshua can see fire trucks racing toward the building. Mr. Wilson's expression becomes grim. "That's not a drill," he says, grabbing Joshua's arm. "We need to get everyone out of here, now." As they rush toward the stairwell, Joshua realizes that whatever Mr. Wilson was about to tell him, whatever revelation was coming next, will have to wait. But something in the older man's eyes suggests that this interruption might change everything once again. The revelation hits Joshua like lightning. Mr. Clarence Wilson, the elderly man he'd helped with a flat tire just hours ago, stands before him in an executive boardroom, wearing a tailored suit that transforms his entire presence. The nameplate on the mahogany conference table reads Clarence Wilson, Chief Executive Officer. Joshua's voice catches in his throat, his hands trembling slightly as the pieces fall into place. "The CEO of Mitchell and Associates, Mr. Wilson says with a gentle smile, his eyes twinkling with the same warmth Joshua had seen on the roadside. "The very company you were supposed to interview with this morning." Joshua's legs feel weak. He sinks into a leather chair, his mind racing through every moment of their encounter. The missed calls, the abandoned interview, the choice that had seemed like career suicide just hours ago. It all suddenly makes perfect sense in the most impossible way. "I don't understand," Joshua whispers, looking around the impressive office with its floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown Atlanta. "You were just on the side of the road." Mr. Wilson chuckles, pouring two glasses of water from a crystal pitcher. "Son, I've been driving that same route to work for 37 years. Today was the first time my old Buick decided to give me trouble." He hands Joshua the glass. "But maybe it wasn't trouble at all. Maybe it was exactly what we both needed." The weight of Mr. Wilson's words settles over Joshua like a warm blanket. "But I missed the interview. I threw away my chance. Did you, Mr.?" Wilson settles into his chair, his expression growing serious. "Joshua, in the past for hours, you've shown me more about your character than any interview could have revealed. When you saw someone in need, you didn't hesitate. You didn't calculate the cost or weigh the benefits. You simply acted with compassion." Tears blur Joshua's vision as he thinks about his mother, lying in a hospital bed, counting on him to find steady work. "My family needs me to succeed, Mr. Wilson. I can't afford to make choices with my heart instead of my head. What if I told you that today you did both, Mr. Wilson leans forward, his voice filled with conviction. "Joshua, I founded this company 40 years ago with nothing but determination and a belief that good people deserve good opportunities. I've interviewed thousands of candidates, but I've never met someone who would sacrifice their own future to help a stranger." The office door opens, and Joshua's sister Maya rushes in, her face flushed with excitement and worry. "Joshua, your phone's been going straight to voicemail, and when I called the company, They said you never showed up for your interview. But then someone called me and said," she stops abruptly, noticing Mr. Wilson. "Maya, this is Mr. Clarence Wilson," Joshua says, still processing everything himself. "He's the CEO of the company I was supposed to interview with today." Maya's eyes widen as Mr. Wilson stands and extends his hand warmly. "Your brother is an exceptional young man, Maya. He chose to help me instead of attending his interview. And that choice has told me everything I need to know about who he is." "But what does this mean?" Maya asks, looking between them with hope and confusion. Mr. Wilson returns to his desk and pulls out a folder. "It means I'm offering Joshua a position as a junior consultant with full benefits, tuition assistance for his remaining courses, and a starting salary that will more than cover your mother's medical expenses." He slides the contract across the table. No interview necessary. His character has already spoken louder than any resume ever could. Joshua stares at the papers, his hands shaking as he reads the details. The salary is exactly what he'd hoped for, the benefits comprehensive, the opportunities for advancement clearly outlined. But more than that, there's something else, a mentorship program personally overseen by Mr. Wilson himself. "I don't know what to say," Joshua manages, his voice thick with emotion. "Say you'll accept," Mr. Wilson replies with a grin, "and say you'll let me teach you everything I've learned about building something meaningful in this world." 6 months later, Joshua walks through the same office building where his life changed forever. But now he belongs here. His mother's surgery was successful, her recovery complete thanks to the excellent insurance coverage his new position provided. Maya is back in school, her tuition partially covered by the company's family education program. But the real transformation isn't in Joshua's bank account, it's in his perspective. Under Mr. Wilson's mentorship, he's learned that success isn't just about climbing the corporate ladder. It's about the ladder you build for others to climb behind you. Ready for the monthly community outreach meeting, Mr. Wilson appears beside Joshua's desk, adjusting his tie with the same humble energy Joshua remembers from their roadside encounter. "Always," Joshua replies, grabbing his jacket. They've spent the last 6 months developing a program that provides job training and placement services for young people from underserved communities. People just like Joshua had been not so long ago. As they walk toward the conference room, Mr. Wilson places a gentle hand on Joshua's shoulder. "You know, son, that day I got a flat tire was the luckiest breakdown of my life. It reminded me why I started this company in the first place. To create opportunities for people who lead with their hearts." Joshua smiles, thinking about the choice that seemed like a mistake, but turned out to be the best decision he'd ever made. "Thank you for seeing something in me worth investing in, Mr. Wilson. Thank you for showing me that the next generation still understands what really matters, Mr. Wilson replies as they enter the room filled with eager young faces that remind Joshua of his own just months ago, full of hope and determination, despite the odds stacked against them. The story comes full circle as Joshua begins presenting to the group, sharing his own experience of how a single act of kindness can change everything. In the audience, he sees the same fire he once carried, the same dreams he once feared would never come true. As he speaks, Joshua realizes that Mr. Wilson was right. Sometimes the biggest opportunities come disguised as detours. Sometimes the very thing that seems like failure is actually the doorway to everything you've been working toward. Have you ever made a choice that seemed wrong at the time, but led to something incredible? Share your story in the comments below. Let's celebrate the power of following our hearts, even when logic tells us otherwise.